For most people in the West, mobile gaming in the mid-2000s meant playing Snake or a watered-down version of Tetris. But if you had a certain kind of flip phone, or if you lived in specific regions, you might have stumbled upon a hidden gem known as Senshi the Ninja Warrior. If you search for Senshi Ninja Warrior, the internet gets confused. Most algorithms will throw you into a 1985 anime called Ninja Senshi Tobikage, which translates to Ninja Warrior Tobikage. That show features space ninjas and mech robots. However, that is not what we are talking about today. The game drops you into a classic feudal Japan setting. Those specific details vary depending on the version you played. Generally, the plot revolves around a young ninja you seeking revenge against a corrupt warlord or rescuing your kidnapped clan. The game utilized the phone's keypad in a way that felt surprisingly responsive. You had your basic attack, a jump, and most importantly, a shuriken toss. The enemies ranged from basic Ashigaru foot soldiers to mythical demons. Combat was simple. Mash the key to slash, or hold a direction to throw a shuriken. The game also featured a progression system. As you defeated enemies, you would earn karma or gold to upgrade your ninja speed, attack power, or health. You weren't just a generic sprite, you were Senshi, and you were getting stronger. Senshi might not have the budget of Final Fantasy or the fame of Angry Birds, but it holds a sacred place in mobile history. It represents a time when developers had to use every single byte to deliver fun. If you grew up sneaking your phone into class to fight pixelated samurai under your desk, you know exactly what I mean. Back in the day, this game was likely distributed through carrier portals, think Verizon's Get It Now or the old T-Mobile T-Zones. It was often published by smaller companies like Glue Mobile or perhaps even a Korean or Japanese developer who lost the license. Because smartphones killed the Java phone overnight, millions of games were simply left behind. There is no official archive. There is no Steam re-release. The only way to play Senshi today is if you have the exact JAR file saved on an old SD card or a very specific Nokia model. In 2004, Gameloft, the same company that later brought us Modern Combat and Gangstar, took on the impossible task of squeezing the Prince into a 2D, button-mashing world. This is the story of Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time for Java ME. And trust me, it was a different beast entirely. The story follows the same basic beats as the console version. You play the prince at the request of a scheming vizier, steals the dagger of time. Naturally, this releases the sands of time, turning everyone into sand monsters. However, if you are looking for the witty banter between the prince and Farah, you won't find it here. In fact, in this Java version, Farah is largely absent from the gameplay. The console version was about fluid motion. You could run up walls like water. The mobile version tries to capture that, but it introduces two things that hardcore fans still argue about today: a stamina bar and a live system. The prince gets tired. If you run on walls too much or hang from a ledge too long, a stamina bar drains. If it empties, you fall and die. For a game about acrobatics, this felt less like being a heroic prince and more like being a guy who skipped leg day. The enemies are relentless, not because they are smart, but because your sword swipe has the range of a butter knife. Reviewers from Backlog noted that the pitiful sword swipes make fighting even basic foes a chore. And unlike the console version, where death is just a rewind button away, the mobile version uses a classic game over system. You have limited lives. Run out, and it's back to the main menu. The level design is basic, but also annoying. One player review famously described the obstacles as being placed in ways that frustrate and annoy rather than legitimately challenge. Gameloft also released a version for the Nokia Engage and Symbian phones. If you ever dig into the history of mobile gaming, look for the Engage version. It's the one that actually tries to mimic the console experience. The standard Java version, however, ends with a wall of text. No final cinematic, no epic duel. Just a few sentences telling you that good triumphs over evil. Honestly, by today's standards, critics gave it a 3 out of 10. The year is 2002, Neo Geo is breathing its last breath, and SNK is rising from the ashes. Metal Slug 4 hits the arcades. While critics called it a copy-paste of its predecessors, fans loved the raw, unapologetic chaos. But fast forward to 2009. You're not in an arcade. You're on a bus, flip phone in hand, with greasy thumbs mashing the 5 key. By the mid-2000s, SNK Playmore was licensing its IP to developers like Mega Enterprise and publishers like iPlay. They faced an impossible task: take a game known for raw, unabashed violence and eyeball-searing cartoony visuals and squeeze it onto a handset with the processing power of a digital watch. While the arcade original introduced newbies Trevor Spacey and Nadia Castle, the mobile version often let you choose between the classic quartet or sometimes renamed them Leona and Roberto depending on the regional port. But here is the genius of the Java port: the controls. Anyone who played shooters on a keyboard phone knows the pain. But Metal Slug Mobile 4 allowed you to shoot in all directions while moving in another. On a limited screen where enemies swarm constantly, that level of control slickness was the difference between winning and throwing your phone at a wall. The design and animation of these mechanized beasts on such limited hardware is actually quite awe-inspiring. You've got the heavy machine gun, the rocket launcher, and even the new addition to the franchise double machine gun. The original Metal Slug arcade game introduced a combo system called the Metalish system, where you grabbed emblems to start a timed score bonus. In the mobile version, the levels are shorter, the enemy waves are compressed, but that manic pace remains. Running this on a Java virtual machine in 2009 was tough. Reviewers noted small slowdowns during big explosions, but the fact that it ran at all is a testament to the developers. They kept the weight of the sprites. When you fire the shotgun, the screen shakes. When you throw a grenade, the feedback is instant. But there is a trade-off. The mobile version is short. You can blast through it in under an hour. While the arcade was designed to eat your quarters, the mobile version was designed for the bus ride home. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this trip back into mobile gaming history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out more retro game content.